Welcome to Soltron. I thought today we'd just go over the mods I did to this LDCX Super Train robot. So I'll probably do this to a couple other of the robots, but you can see I added his leg and hip articulation, and I gave him neck articulation. Those are the big things. Oh, and then I raised his shoulders as well. So I think you could tell from this pose that he looks pretty awesome. Alright, and then let's look at the specific joints I use. So this is, of course, as I like to use, Lego ball joint. Pretty standard. I like to use this for small things that don't need a lot of strength. So you can see this gives him great articulation. He's got 360 in the head now, whereas he had no articulation previously. So he's looking great. Able to look around. Everything looks nice and natural. These ball joints are perfect for this. You can get upward motion. You can get some downward too. And then I usually don't glue the shaft into the neck because I like for it to extend a little bit to give him more expression. So like you can pull out this joint a little bit, give like more of an extreme upward pose. So that's by design. And then his shoulders are up here. You can see I just bumped this peg up here. It used to be down here. Unfortunately, it doesn't really collapse anymore. It's just permanently sticking out of the train mode. Oh, and this one is sliding out because I haven't glued these either because I also don't like to glue things unless I absolutely have to. So I'll probably have to glue that down. And then the big mod, which was like the most annoying, are these hips. And you can see these are just the Hero factory joints. These are the ones with the rubber inserts, but it's still pretty loose. This figure is a little bit too big for these kinds of joints, but he's also a little bit too small for the Strux ball joints. I would consider using Strux for these guys. I don't know if they would fit. It might be a little bit too... there's very limited amount of space working in here, and these hips have to collapse. So there's that. And then I also shaved down behind the leg. There's this plastic right here. And if you just trim that plastic out, you can actually get a full 90 degrees on the knee. Previously, they can only go out like this much. So you need to cut that plastic to give them the full 90. And then I tried something out on this guy I probably won't do again, is I cut out a lot of this section to give him more of an ankle tilt. This is like the normal amount you get, one click, and then it gets a little bit more for a wider stance. So this one I didn't do it with. So I had to like weaken the ankle a little bit, and that's probably why I wouldn't do it again. But anyway, you can get some real intimidating looking poses out of this guy now, which is pretty great. So you can get like the standard. I like, of course, the sword on the shoulder, and then looking off to the side. Like, oh, it's just such a dream to have him be able to do that. Like, I've had these Super Train robot figures for years and just never got around to customizing them. But yeah, so he can pretty much... Every pose is a winner at this point. He looks good no matter what he does. Even just standing static is pretty great. I think you'll agree. He looks good just standing there. And he does have a little bit of thigh swivel or hip swivel at this point, just because these ball joints let him do that. So he can stand nice and natural with his weapons. So I think you'll agree that's a nice improvement. And then we'll just have him, I'll just put him in a neutral pose. And I'll actually take out his swords. So we can compare him with how he used to look. Let's just have him do a stock standing pose. And then give him a little bit of thigh swivel. And this hip skirt is really annoying. It's like so loose. I probably have to put a little bit of wax in there. But you can see just his default standing pose. He looks pretty great. And then let's bring him in with one figure that I didn't modify, that I will now. So you can see the big thing is the shoulders on Phoenix are lower, and I think his shoulders just look more active and more ready. It's hard to tell the difference because his hands have these claws on them, but his arms just look more droopy. His claws go all the way down to his knees, which are kind of ridiculous. So I'll swap out their arms so you can get a better look. All right, there we go. So now we can compare the arms to the arms. So you can see this arm compared to this arm. You can see that it just looks more aggressive when it's like raised up over his neck a little bit, whereas this one, he just looks a little more relaxed. And then you still get the issue is like this arm is just drooping all the way down to his knees. It gets in the way of this piece right here, whereas this guy, he has no issues with clearance. His arm only goes up to his hip. This arm is way down here where his knees are. And this guy already has like an annoying issue with his thigh clicks being weak. So this guy's probably a good candidate for thigh replacement or hip replacement. But yeah, you could just see this pose looks more natural, more dynamic. So I'm really enjoying that. And then, yeah, this guy's hips are terrible. His ankles are kind of trash. So this guy has a lot of issues. But you can even compare his claw arm. That looks pretty good. And this claw arm looks good too. It's just very low. I think that's really the only issue that I have with this guy. So for this guy, I'm definitely going to give him the neck articulation. And I'm going to raise his shoulders because those were very easy to do. And then someday I'll go back and fix his hips. But this is what he looks like now in comparison. And then we can get a look at them both with the cannon arm on, or the shoulder cannons equipped. And I think this guy, he just looks better. It's a small change, but that extra like 5 millimeters up on the shoulders, I think just make him look more aggressive, whereas this guy, it's cool, you can still see his face when he's turned. But I think these higher arms and these higher shoulder cannons actually just really improve the look. It's such a small thing that goes such a long way. So there's the difference. Yeah, but you get the idea. And there we go. We'll look at both of them with a full arm swap. These arms, they just don't look quite right. And it's because his shoulders are too low. And these ones maybe with the claw arms, maybe his shoulders are a little too high, but I still think this is an improvement. It's hard to tell because these claw arms are so different. But yeah, I think this is better. I'm gonna go through with it. And yeah, now that he's modded, I think he stands a chance against the Shinkalion figures. I think he would make a great opponent for them. Or maybe even like the new versions. Yeah, it looks like he could just be like the enemy of the week. And then while we're here, I did do, of course, a mod to this guy finally. It's been years, but maybe 1 year. I did do the same thing with this guy. I gave him his Lego ball joint. I just hollowed out his original socket. I just drilled an 1/8 inch hole right there, or 3 millimeters. And then his head just gently goes in there. And then for transformation, his head has to be shoved all the way down here, which is his original pose. So it's obvious why I had to mod this guy. But if you raise up his head, he can now look side to side. And I had to hollow out his shoulder plastic right there so his cheeks could go in there. But now he can actually look side to side, and his face looks over his chest. So good improvement on this guy too, which is always fun. So it's a mod I've been wanting to do for years, and it was very simple. It's basically the same thing I did for this guy's head. Anyway, that's it for those customs. It's really easy. It's a good place to start, is doing neck mods. All right, and I'll see you in the next one.